Good morning. We're here. We're so blessed to have Carol and Landry with us today to talk and grace us with her presence and always here. Woo! And Grayson isn't here. Yay! Let's all stand up and cheer ourselves. We're going to go ahead and stand and sing one of Carol's favorites. We thought of that. I want to do her good ones and all the selections. Now she's only here now. Do all you can. So we're going to sing. Go ahead, next ring. This part is easy.
Chaplain, bring forward the prayer box, please.
This is our prayer box. We keep it in the back of the room normally so that it's available to write down your prayers on a piece of paper and place them in the box. The prayers stay in the box for about 30 days, and then they're sent to Unity Village, where Silent Unity will pray over these prayers for another 30 to 60 days. So let's just take a moment to breathe deeply, relaxing and moving to that higher vibration, that place within. And let us lift these prayers up. All of the prayers in this box and all of the prayers written on our hearts, being lifted up to Spirit for their fulfillment to the highest good of all. For this we are grateful, and we say thank you. And so it is. Amen. Now I want to talk about something we're going to be doing coming up in the future. A little bit of a change. One of our visions was to have different versions of the Lord's Prayer. We've always said the Lord's Prayer in service, and we're going to continue to do that. But what we're going to be starting to doing sometime in the future, an undetermined date yet, but we'll be having a different translation of the Lord's Prayer. So we'll actually say it twice. We'll say the Lord's Prayer like we're going to say today, and then we would have a different translation of the Lord's Prayer after that. So I just don't want it to be a surprise when one day you come in and we say it twice. And that is what's going on. Because there's lots of different translations of the Bible. And who's to say that one translation is any better than any other? Because, Jesus spoke in Aramaic. The Bible was written down in Greek. The translation that we have in the King James Version was probably translated from Latin. Of course, later they were revised from Greek. But still, who knows exactly what Jesus said when he said this prayer and exactly what his intention was. So we do the best that we can. And so that's why we want to share different translations so we can open our minds and move a little closer to that intention that Jesus had. So thank you.
The daily word, you have a sheet with it on if you want to read along with it. The creation story, first chapter of Genesis, tells us that humankind is created in the image of God. As I listen again to these powerful words, the truth of my divine essence, my Christ nature, takes root in my mind and heart. I declare with the Apostle Paul, it is no longer I who live, but it is Christ who lives in me. Belief in lack or limitation dissolves as I accept my Christ nature. Divine life revitalizes my body. Divine love harmonizes my relationships. Divine imagination shows me new possibilities. Divine wisdom and understanding guide my decisions and actions. Divine faith strengthens my commitment to transformation. Christ awareness transforms my life experience. I give thanks for my new life in Christ. From Genesis, it no longer I who live, but it's Christ who lives in me. Genesis 2:20.
Thank you, Chris. Let us all prepare ourselves to say our sacred Lord's Prayer together now. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
And let us move deeper into that place of oneness and connection. Take some deep breaths and let go. If there's any tension around the back of your head and your neck and your shoulders, just breathe into that and let it go. Ask your mind if it will just slow down for a few moments. Slowing down, allowing that inner awareness in this time of opening to that divine voice, to those divine ideas, to the awareness of love. Breathe in love, this unconditional love that is the creative force of the universe. Another name for that which we call God is love. Opening awareness to that divine energy which is peace. Another name for that divine presence. Opening to the awareness of joy. Joy that comes from that creative energy. And being aware of the light that shines and radiates from this awareness. Our master teacher said, "You are the light of the world." Don't hide it. Don't hide it. So open your awareness and allow, I am the light. I am the light of, and I am the light in the world. And as you are aware of this, visualize a rose. A rose like so many that are beginning to bloom in this time of year, with a fragrance. A fragrance that wafts out into the world, that you participate in, that you share in, and that without even thinking, that fragrance and that light move with and through you. And in this awareness, this deepening, let us move into that place of silence. Saying thank you, mind, for slowing down. I am open and ready and aware in the silence. And gently bring yourself just to the edge of that silence, allowing any concerns that you have, both for yourself, for those that you love, and for that expanded community that may encompass the whole world. Just allow, with no thought of what the solution is to these challenges, just allowing that awareness in the presence of this divinity. And let us consciously begin to become aware of this light radiating first from each of us as an individual, connecting with each light that is here in this place, and feeling it expand exponentially, reaching out to all the lights till we circle the globe. And in this light, see that radiating out into the universe, far beyond what we can imagine. And saying thank you, that we are privileged to be aware of this connection. Thank you, Spirit, that we have an awareness of our oneness with all that is. And for this, we give our thanks. And as we grow in our awareness, we say, and so it is. Amen.
Amen.
Take some deep breaths. Yes. You know, isn't it amazing that deep breaths both will take us into that depth and then also brings us out and we are energized. So we don't think this is a magic universe with all of these amazing things that operate in so many different ways. You know, that's just wonderful. So today I'm going to share a little bit of my ongoing journey. Now I'm a journeyer. You've that have been here, hear that metaphor from me, have for many years, and I have used it, I guess, all of my awareness of my spiritual journey. You know, we're all on a spiritual journey, but sometimes you don't become aware of it until later on in life. And mine, I was 38 when I began to become aware of that kind of personality and that awareness. And what's really been, people ask me, you know, what's going on in your life now, how things have changed, what are some of your favorite situations, and one of my favorites was, we started out here and we went to the Carolinas. We were in South Carolina and North Carolina and back to South Carolina, and we went over to Louisiana, and then we came back to Florida. Not Florida, but to South Alabama, right on the Florida line. So basically in the Pensacola area. And Pensacola is where my journey began 40 years ago. In February. So that's when we came back, in February, and I was able to go and visit Unity of Pensacola, which is my, quote, home church. So having that energy of coming back to where it all began, and we were there for a couple of months. So first showed up at Unity in February, and then joined the church in March. And in March, I got to actually speak there, and the first time I've spoken there, and I think I've spoken there maybe once since I came up here. And so bringing all this full circle, and then the next thing that was happening just as I was returning, the person who led the discussion group that was every morning before church when I first started coming to that church had just renewed and begun that discussion group again on Wednesday mornings. So I've been able to go and be a participant at a whole different level in that discussion group with somebody who really knew who I was back in the day. And, you know, so it's been very interesting, a couple of months that I was able to spend down there. And so when I spoke down there, I really talked about what my journey was from that beginning up through today, and looked at the unity principles, not in order, but as I became aware of them and as I began to be able to use them within my life. Well, now many of you're very familiar with that journey and so much of that. So what I really want to focus on today is what's been happening, what is this continuing process on this journey in here. And so we all say this to each other, that the spiritual path is like a dance, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then 3 forward, side to side, and then up front, and then back, and then, and so one of the things that I had just recently bought was Barbara Taylor Brown's newest book, and she's started out as an Episcopal priest and is now a teacher of religion at one of the northern Georgia churches up there. And in that book, as I was beginning to read, one of the things that she talked about was the hymn, "The Lord of the Dance." It happened to come up in one of her classes, and we've sung it here many times. I almost asked to sing it this morning, but here's the chorus, and this is what I think is really important. "Dance then wherever you may be, for I am the Lord of the dance," said he. "And I'll lead you all wherever you may be. I'll lead you all in the dance," said he. Now, I always thought that was a shaker hymn. And the tune is definitely a shaker tune, but the words were written in 1970. And Sidney Carter wrote them, and he was influenced, now get this, he was influenced by an image of the Hindu god Lord Shiva, who's the god of destruction, and the crucifixion of Jesus. So the words of the song have Jesus talking about how he danced when all of these different things happened. But I went to look at, okay, so what's the connection? How did this come about? So when we think, we're not very familiar with all of the Hindu gods and things like that. And a lot of times the picture, because some of those Hindu gods, the images to a Western mind are very negative, and Shiva is one of those fairly scary ones, and if you don't know what the symbolism is, it stays scary. But here's Shiva, the destruction of Shiva is not a negative destruction. It is positive, nourishing, and constructive, which builds and transforms life and energy for the welfare of the world and the beings that inhabit it. His destruction, now I really like this, his destruction is the destruction of an artist, a surgeon, a cook. Through destruction, he facilitates the smooth transition of things and events from one stage to another. Now you begin to get that image and see how something is, quote, destroyed so it can be recreated in a new image. He destroys our imperfections to ensure our spiritual progress. He destroys our illusions, desires, and ignorance. Do those words sound kind of familiar? This letting go. And so then I went, okay, what does Charles Fillmore have to say about crucifixion? So what's the connection here? So the crucifixion is the crossing out in consciousness of errors that have become fixed states of mind, the surrender or death of the whole personality in order that the Christ mind may be expressed in all its fullness. And you see how these are really, really using different languaging, but some of the old concretize, all of those kinds of things need to be let go of. And we don't like to use the word destroy, but that's exactly what's happening. When we look out in nature and you think about, if we didn't have the seasons and quote the destruction of the flowers that turn into fruit, and the fruit that turns into seeds, and the trees, in this continuing cycle, what would happen with that unlimited growth? And for ourselves, this is what we're learning, is how do we let go of these old things, these old ideas, these old beliefs, and seeing that process. So to move forward, this process must happen. And so my ongoing journey is this continuing to let go. And you know, when you begin on this path, you want to know, when am I going to get there? When am I going to get there? Am I ever going to get there? No? I mean, spoiler alert, no, you're not ever going to get there, because it is an ongoing journey. The more you learn, the more you grow, the more you develop, the more you see out there, the more the place is going. And my own personal belief is in the ongoingness of life. So when I go through the rainbow door to the other side, I don't think I'm sitting there on a white cloud playing a harp for eternity. And I have these 2 little seconds here. I think it's an ongoing learning process. But you guys get to figure out what your belief is. So also this letting go. So you were all with me as I told the story of the stress of the selling the house and the letting go. But that's an ongoing process. And one of the quotes from Marie Kondo. How many are aware of Marie Kondo and life-changing magic of tidying up? And the one particular quote she has, or the quote I'm using from her, she talks about when you're wanting to let go of things, needing to let go of things, take it and hold it in your hands. And if it doesn't bring you joy, let it go. If it doesn't bring you joy, let it go. Now that joy may simply be its usefulness. You know, it might be, you know, your eating utensils. You don't usually think of them as bringing you joy, but they do when you need them to use them. So, you know, you think about, does this bring me joy? So, living in this very small space now, so I have an 8 by 11 foot space, and a lot of the things got put in that space there at the end. I didn't have any more brain power to be able to sort things out. So a lot of stuff just really got shoved in there. So now it's a process of figuring out, what am I ready to let go? What is changing in my life? And here's another quote. So Marie Kondo, so that's a nonfiction book, practical book. So this is a quote from one of my favorite authors, a fiction author. And says, but as time passes, we find that the clothes of the past do not fit, do not serve us anymore. Well, that so speaks to me, because the clothes of my past are the clothes that I had for standing up here and speaking in public and going out and being the public figure of this church. And you know what? When you're living in a campground, you don't need many of those things. But you know, I got them because I love them, and I still do. I like the colors. I like the way I looked in them. And I have to tell you, in some ways, they still bring me joy. However, when I put that in the place of how I'm wanting to live my life with this freedom, I have to think about letting them go. So that actual clothing has to morph and to change. It's still in process, because I don't know exactly what I will be doing and how I will be living. So one of the other things, and I've heard people comment on this, I have no fixed place of a home. And no fixed place. I have home, obviously. Whenever we say we're going home, we're going back to the RV. Wherever the RV is, that's home. However, over the years I've counted up. So counting this particular move, I've moved 36 times in my life. And that averages out to 2.2 years per residence, given the years that I have now. Which means some were really short time, and I was here for 15 years. But that means, in my consciousness, I don't have a sense of a fixed place. We've had people here that have still live in the home they grew up in here in Huntsville. So when their parents died, they stayed in that house. They had their families and in that house. That's a sense of a fixed place, but I don't have that. Moving around is kind of my awareness. I have no specific employment. And when you think about getting up in the morning and what am I doing today and all, this has been a real shift here. What is my job to do here? Well, when I look back, there's been at least 4 times, other times in my life, when I had no stable employment, and they lasted for several months, and it was wonderful. I did all kinds of productive things. Sometimes I worked for a little bit, sometimes I did other things. So again, this isn't really new. So to be able to be aware, I practiced this there back in the day. I don't know what that's all about. The most difficult one is no ongoing spiritual community. But now, beginning in January, I've been in places where a Unity church was close enough, at least for me to visit occasionally. Not a different church each time, but having that connection, and then the last 2 months being down there in Pensacola and having a much more expanded spiritual connection. And I think over the years, how many times for many years, I lived way far away from any Unity church, and it was okay. I maintained. I was able to nourish through reading, through talking to friends on the phone and things like that. So looking at the things who are changing, but really, can I look around and say, oh, I've handled this before? And who knows what's going to develop as I move out and around the world. Who knows what opportunities I'm going to have to speak, to meet people. Maybe there's going to be people in these campgrounds who are kind of feeling like I am. I want a place where there's a discussion group and I can have some talking about this book that I'm reading, and A, I'm excited about it, and B, there's some things I really need to work on, and it's easier if I've got some other people's input. So who knows what's going to happen with there. So I developed this affirmation that says, I am living the life. And I just started this just a few weeks ago because I thought, what am I doing? So I thought, okay, I am affirming, I am living the life, which means as I am sitting there in that moment, I am living the life. And I'm not saying, and here's how I want the life to progress, to look like, to, I want to make sure we go here at this point in time. Yes, I have an idea of some directions I'd like us to go, but it's not, I've got to be there by, May the 1st or this. I am living the life and allowing that divine spirit to point out in the moment, what is that? What does that life look like? So it's also, who am I? Who am I in this journey? So as a spiritual leader and somebody who gets to do classes and somebody who represents a spiritual community, there is sort of a definition. I know who I am, but that's not who I am anymore. So I found a couple of quotes that I really, really think resonate. Well, I found one quote, one you'll recognize. I use it a lot. So here's a quote from Gandhi. And Gandhi loved the teachings of Jesus. He had no intention of being a Christian. That was not in his lexicon. But he loved the teachings of Jesus. And so this is what he said. He said, the rose transmits its scent without a movement. I have a definite feeling that if you want us to experience the aroma of Christianity, you must copy the rose. It irresistibly draws people to itself, and the scent remains with them. A rose does not preach. It simply spreads its fragrance. I can vision myself as that rose, being who I am, having the awareness that I am connected. Am I making all that noise and crashing and banging? And then my very favorite, which I have used ever since I came into Unity, and I've used it several times here. I am a radiating center of the Christ life. mighty to attract its good and to radiate good to others. And so, go forth in fragrance and in light, and see me in the same. And so, thank you.
Well, we're going to go ahead and stand up and sing another song. It's Flow Spirit Flow. It's number 251 in your red book if you want to follow along there. The words will also be on stage 251 in the red book. Flow, Spirit, flow, and all my fears release. I am a shadow for love and peace. Fill me with power and let my heart be strong. Fill me with joy that I may sing thy song. Heal, Spirit, heal, and all myself renew. I am expressing thy perfection true. Fill me with love that I may loving be. Fill me with life that I may live for thee. Go ahead and have a seat. I haven't done this for a long time, y'all, because I've lost my voice for so long, but I'm going to sing Believe in Yourself from the musical. If you believe, live in your hearts, you'll know that no one can change the path that you must go. Believe what you feel and know your place before the time will come and comes when you'll say it's yours. Believe there's a reason to be. Believe you can make time stand still. And know from the moment you try, if you believe, I know you will. Believe in yourself right from the start. You'll have brains, you'll have hearts, you'll have courage to last your whole life through. If you believe in yourself, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in yourself as I believe in you. Believe